You picture a medieval battle, armored knights, charging horses, banners flying. Now picture 400 farmers with axes on sticks taking down an army 5,000 strong. November 15th, 1315. Lake Aigeri in the Swiss Alps, a narrow pass between steep slopes and cold water. Duke Leopold of Austria leads 2,000 knights and maybe 7,000 infantry through that bottleneck. The Habsburgs own half of Europe. These Swiss peasants own rocks and trees and anger. In 2 hours, 1,500 Habsburg soldiers are dead. Many drown trying to escape. The Duke barely gets out alive. This is the day feudal cavalry learns it can bleed. This is Morgarten. Late 13th century, the House of Habsburg wants in. They already hold Austria and Styria. They claim jurisdiction over the forest cantons. Uri, Schwitz, Unterwalden, 3 valleys around Lake Lucerne. In 1291, these valleys sign a pact, mutual defense, native judges. No foreign bailiffs. The wording never names the Habsburgs, but everyone knows. Construction of the Devil's Bridge over the Scheulenen Gorge opens the St. Gotthard route. Pack trains move north with Italian silk and spices. They move south with German silver and wool. The forest cantons prosper. Habsburg tariffs threaten that. Habsburg bailiffs threaten autonomy. They fear Frederick will annex their lands like his ancestor Rudolf tried. Meanwhile, Schwitz and the Abbey of Einsiedeln fight over pasture rights near the Mitten Mountains. This dispute goes back to 1100. Settlers from Schwitz clear forest on land Einsiedeln claims. The abbot complains to the Bishop of Constance. The bishop moves to excommunicate Schwitz, January 6, 1314. Knight of the Three Kings. Werner Stauffacher leads men from Schwitz into Einsiedeln Abbey. They plunder the monastery, burn books. Take noble monks hostage, hoping for ransom from their families. Sources say Stauffacher was horrified and ordered the monks treated as guests. The abbey sits under Habsburg protection. Frederick the Fair orders his brother to crush these peasants. Duke Leopold prepares his strike for November 1315. Multiple columns. One attacks Arth from the northwest. One from Entlebuch hits Unterwalden from the north. One crosses Lake Lucerne from the west, targeting Schwitz. Count Otto von Strasburg takes a force over Brunig Pass toward Obwalden. Diversions. The main army assembles at Zug, 2,000 knights, perhaps 7,000 foot soldiers. The corps is heavily armored Austrian cavalry. Knights from Swabian families supplement them. Leopold plans a surprise attack from the south via Lake Aigeri and Morgarten Pass. Surprise, complete victory, crush the rebellion. Message written on the fletching. Beware near Morgarten. The route Leopold will take. Werner Stauffacher commands the Swiss. 1,300 men from Schwitz, 200 from Uri, more from Unterwalden. Total force somewhere between 1,500 and 4,000, depending on which chronicle you trust. Farmers, herdsmen, lightly armored, helmet and corselet, but no greaves or shields. They prepare the trap. Swamp and lake on the other. Maybe 2 kilometers of choke point. The Swiss block most routes into their territory, force Leopold through Morgarten. They build a timber and stone wall across the path, position crossbowmen behind it. Most of the force hides in a shallow ravine on the wooded ridge above, waiting. 2 kilometers of men and horses funneled into that narrow corridor between mountain and water. Morning of the 15th. The vanguard encounters the roadblock near Schaffstetten. They stop. The center and rear keep pushing forward. The column compresses. Bottleneck. Leopold debates with his nobles how to proceed. A 15th century chronicle records his court jester Quoni von Stocken speaking up. You have all deliberated on how to reach that land, but none of you deliberated how you will get out again. Leopold orders the wall stormed. Knights dismount to remove the obstacle. 2-meter maple shafts with axe blade, thrusting spike, and rear hook forged as one piece. John of Winterthur, writing around 1340, describes them. Death weapons called Helmbarten in popular speech. Very frightful. These slice like a razor and slash into pieces strongly armed opponents. The halberd debuts at Morgarten. First recorded use against knights. An unarmored man with that 7-foot weapon can dispatch an armored man-at-arms. Hook pulls riders from saddles. Spike thrusts through gaps in plate. Blade hacks through limbs. Panicked horses in a space too narrow to turn. No room to charge uphill. No room to form ranks. The Swiss wade in with halberds, swords, clubs, flails. Close quarters. Brutal. Chronicles say the Swiss showed no mercy, unfamiliar with customs of battles between knights. They butchered retreating troops, everyone unable to flee. Some Austrian infantry preferred to drown themselves in the lake rather than face Swiss weapons. It was not a battle, it was a mere butchery. The mountain folk slew them like sheep in the shambles, no quarter given. They cut down all without distinction. 1,500 Habsburg soldiers killed. Johannes von Winterthur writing circa 1340 records. That number does not include those drowned in the lake. Historian Hans Delbruck estimated in 1907 the Habsburg force was 2,000 to 3,000. Modern historians Kelly DeVries agrees. 19th century accounts inflated it to 9,000. Either way, more than half the knights died. The Habsburg army scattered. Leopold escaped. Count Otto von Strasburg heard news of the defeat while retreating through Brunig Pass, hounded by men of Unterwalden who gave no quarter. He was injured and died from his wounds soon after. This script is researched and factual using sources from the Warfare History Network published October 6, 2023, analyzing primary chronicles, including Johannes von Winterthur's 14th century account and Karl von Elger's 1868 study Die Kämpfe am Morgarten, which provides eyewitness-level detail from period sources, plus archaeological excavations near Morgarten in 2015 that uncovered 2 knives, arrows, a scabbard, a cavalier's spur, and 12 Pfennig silver coins now displayed at the Bundesbrief Museum. Now back to the information. Local legend says so many men died in Lake Egerie, the water turns blood red at midnight on the anniversary. Archaeological reality is more measured, but the site tells stories. The pass road itself. The slope of the Figlenfla, where boulders were rolled. The swamp, where horses broke through. The lake where men drowned rather than face halberds. A chapel marking the battle site, first recorded in 1501. Modern structure dates to 1604. Joachim Vadian, writing in 1530, suggests the first chapel was built immediately after the battle with proceeds from spoils. The toponym Morgarten translates to pig corral or enclosure for swine. Now it names the entire passage. Before 1315, it was just an Alpine pasture at 47 degrees, 6 minutes 30 seconds north, 8 degrees 39 minutes 29 seconds east. Within 24 days, the forest cantons meet at Brunnen, December 9th, 1315. Representatives from Uri, Schweiz, Obwalden, Nidwalden renew their alliance, the Pact of Brunnen. First treaty worded in German rather than Latin. This changes everything. What had been a pragmatic defensive pact becomes a permanent sworn confederacy. The Eidgenossenschaft, Oath Fellowship, March 1316. Emperor Ludwig IV confirms the rights and privileges of the forest cantons. Recognition from the empire. Schwyz raids Habsburg lands in response. Unterwalden marches into the Bernese Oberland. Neither side prevails. 1318, the forest cantons negotiate a 10-month truce with the Habsburgs, extended several times. 1323, Bern allies with the forest cantons. Schwyz signs with Glarus, protection from the Habsburgs. 1332, Lucerne joins. 1351, Zurich. 1352, Glarus and Zug. 1353, Bern. The 8 Canton Federation forms. Within 40 years, the core of modern Switzerland exists. 1386. Battle of Sempach. Another Swiss victory over the Habsburgs. 1394. Treaty with Austria. The Habsburg threat effectively ends. Formal recognition waits until 1648 with the Peace of Westphalia. An unarmored man with the right weapon and terrain can kill an armored knight. The halberd becomes iconic. Swiss infantry becomes legendary, but they adapt fast. Within years, they add the pike. 18-foot spear with small piercing head, 5.5 meters. No longer outreached by the knight's lance. Greater cohesion than any knightly army, the pike square formation. 10 by 10 men wielding pikes and halberds, supporting formations of crossbowmen, later handgunners. Special shock troops in the phalanx center armed with morning stars, Lucerne hammers, 2-handed swords. They charge out as counterpunch or added assault force. The Swiss system becomes the model for modern infantry regiments. From 1450 to 1550, every leading European prince either hires Swiss troops or creates units that imitate them. German landsknecht to copy Swiss weapons and tactics, the pike, the halberd, the tight formations. Swiss mercenaries become the most sought-after soldiers in Europe. Their reputation for ferocity and discipline spreads from Morgarten. Single-minded disregard for their own and their enemies' lives, they become dreaded opponents for 2 centuries. The Swiss Guard in the Vatican still carries ceremonial halberds today, 8-foot shafts. Weapon heads with axe blade, thrusting spike, and rear hook. Direct descendant of the weapons used at Morgarten. Johannes von Winterthur in the 1340s records the decision of Schwyz to hold annual memorial services. Benedikt Schachtlan illustrates the battle around 1470 in his chronicle. Shows the moment Swiss halberdiers ram into the Austrian flank, rocks avalanching down. The packed column unable to maneuver. These images define how Switzerland sees itself. Free peasants defeating imperial tyranny, David and Goliath in the Alps. By the 1890s, when Switzerland celebrates its 600th anniversary, Morgarten is sacred history. 1915. 600th anniversary of the battle. Plans for a new memorial. Dispute over exact location. The battle was an attack on a marching column stretched 2 kilometers. Both Schwyz and Zug claim the site. They compromise. Monument goes up. Every November 15th, people gather, speeches, wreath laying, reenactments sometimes. Multiple arrows, including those with parchment fletching that may have carried warnings. 1 scabbard, 1 cavalier's spur, proving the presence of mounted knights, 12 pfennigs, silver coins, physical evidence of the slaughter. These artifacts matter because chronicles conflict. Estimates of forces range wildly. Johannes von Winterthur says 20,000 Austrians. Modern historians say 2,000 to 3,000. Swiss forces estimated between 1,500 and 4,000. The truth sits somewhere in the physical remains, the past dimensions, the tactical logic. You cannot fit 9,000 men in a 2-kilometer choke point and expect them to fight effectively. You can fit enough to create catastrophe. Imagine being a knight in full armor on a panicked horse with a swamp on one side and boulders rolling down the other. Imagine Swiss farmers above you who know every rock and tree, who have prepared this ground, who understand their advantage and press it without mercy. The Habsburgs learned what Scottish infantry taught at Bannockburn, what Flemish taught at Courtrai. Cavalry without room to charge is just expensive target practice. But the Swiss learned something else. Organization and brutality can substitute for armor and training. A peasant militia with the right weapon and tactics can defeat professional soldiers. That lesson spreads across Europe. How did such a small force destroy such a large one? Terrain, surprise, weapon advantage. The halberd proves itself. Within decades, every European military manual discusses it. How to wield it, how to form units around it. The Swiss sell their expertise. Mercenary companies spread through Europe. They bring Morgarten's lessons with them. Stand firm, strike hard, no quarter. Their reputation for savagery becomes marketing. Kings hire them because they finish fights. The Swiss never break, they never surrender. Morgarten taught them that winning ugly still counts as winning. But we cannot romanticize too much. The chronicles make clear what happened. Butchery, massacre, men drowning themselves to avoid being hacked apart, knights pulled from horses and killed on the ground, no customs of war observed, no ransoms offered. Just farmers killing nobles with farm tools modified into weapons. Class warfare made literal. Karl von Elger in 1868 writes that scores of Austrian foot soldiers threw themselves into Lake Agary when they saw the bravest knights falling helplessly. They preferred drowning to being hewn by dreadful weapons. The Swiss earned their reputation that day. 200 years of fear starts at Morgarten. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual using sources from Hans Delbruck's 1907 Geschichte der Kriegskunst, im Rahmen der politischen Geschichte, which provides detailed force estimates and tactical analysis from German military historical perspective, and Catherine Becker's dissertation, The Swiss Way of War from Brigham Young University, which offers the most comprehensive modern English language tactical reconstruction of the battle, including terrain analysis and weapon effectiveness studies. Now back to the information. Morgarten does not just kill Habsburg soldiers, it kills Habsburg ambitions in central Switzerland. Leopold survives, but his reputation does not. The peasants beat him. That humiliation echoes through Europe. Small communities can resist empires if they organize. The forest cantons gain virtual autonomy. Louis IV confirms their imperial immediacy. They answer to the emperor alone, not to regional nobles. That status protects them, gives them legitimacy. Other communities notice. If 3 valleys can win independence through force of arms, why not 4? Why not 8? The Confederation grows because Morgarten proved it works. Military success breeds political success. 4 territories meet: Uri, Schwyz, Obwalden, Nidwalden. They renew the mutual defense promise, but more importantly, they make it permanent, eternal alliance. Before this, alliances were practical arrangements that expired. This one does not expire. The Eidgenossenschaft becomes an entity. Not just a treaty, a political reality, a confederation that will grow into a nation. The document exists. Museum of the Swiss Charters of Confederation in Schwyz displays it. Latin gone, written in Middle High German. The language of the people, not the church. Symbolic shift. This alliance serves burghers and peasants, not bishops and emperors. Each city brings resources, trade networks, military forces. The 8-canton federation dominates central Switzerland by mid-14th century. They fight more battles. Laupen, 1339, Sempach, 1386, Naffels, 1388. Each time Swiss pike squares and halberds defeat mounted knights. Each victory reinforces the Morgarten lesson. Infantry properly armed and deployed beats cavalry. The feudal order cracks. European military historians mark Morgarten alongside Courtrai 1302 and Bannockburn 1314 as turning points. The age of cavalry supremacy ends, not immediately, Knights still dominate many battlefields for another century. Agincourt, 1415, proves English longbows can do what Swiss halberds do, but the trajectory is set. Infantry returns to prominence. Pike squares become standard. Gunpowder weapons accelerate the shift. By 1600, cavalry is auxiliary. Infantry dominates. Morgarten helped start that transformation. 400 Swiss farmers with axes on poles changed how Europe fights. Later ones get square cross-sections to prevent twisting, leather wrapping for grip. The hook on the back of the axe blade becomes standard, refined for catching armor openings. By the 15th century, socket construction replaces earlier hoop designs. The blade, spike, and hook forge as one integrated unit, stronger, more reliable. Halberd measurements standardize, typically 1.5 to 2 meters total length. Head components clearly defined. Axe blade for chopping, thrusting spike at top for piercing, rear hook for pulling riders down. 3 functions, 1 weapon, cheap to produce, easy to learn, devastating in formation. The front presents a hedge of spear points and halberd spikes. Approaching cavalry faces impalement. If horses break through, halberdiers in interior ranks step forward, hook riders down, chop through armor with axe blades. The formation has mobility. Unlike earlier pike phalanxes that could barely turn, Swiss columns move independently. 3 Haufen, 3 heaps. Each column can maneuver separately, support each other, engage from front while another hits the flank. Revolutionary tactics born from Morgarten experience. Training emphasizes aggression. Swiss doctrine is offensive. Even in defensive posture, they counterattack. The terrain advantage at Morgarten teaches them this. High ground, downhill momentum, psychological shock. Enemies do not expect peasants to attack. When they do, with fury and no mercy, morale breaks. The Swiss cultivate reputation deliberately. Stories of Morgarten brutality spread. Men drowning rather than face Swiss halberds. Knights butchered on the ground, no ransoms, no prisoners. Make the enemy more afraid of you than of dying. That becomes Swiss brand. For 2 centuries it works. Armies avoid fighting Swiss if possible. Kings hire them for impossible tasks, because Swiss do not know the word impossible. Genoese crossbowmen had dominated mercenary market in 13th century. Swiss pike and halberd men dominate 14th and 15th centuries. They serve France, the Holy Roman Empire, Italian city-states, the Papal States. Swiss Guard protecting the Pope traces directly to Morgarten tradition. Everyone wants soldiers who will not run, who will charge into any fight, who bring terror with them. The cantons regulate this. Each canton supplies units. Officers maintain discipline. Swiss mercenaries fight for whoever pays, but they maintain Swiss identity. They remember Morgarten. They remember that they beat the Empire, that pride becomes their weapon alongside halberds and pikes. Treaties forbid taking contracts against each other. Does not always work. Money talks. Some cantons stay neutral. Uri especially resists mercenary service. They hold closest to the original Morgarten values. Fight for freedom, not profit. Other cantons pragmatic. Bern builds wealth through mercenary contracts. Zurich does the same. The Confederation holds together despite these strains because the core principle remains. Mutual defense, no foreign judge. The oath sworn at Brunnen in 1315. Modern Switzerland looks back to Morgarten as founding moment. August 1st national holiday officially commemorates the 1291 Federal Charter. But November 15th resonates deeper in Swiss memory. Morgarten proved the charter meant something. Words on parchment become real when tested in blood. The Forest Canton said they would defend each other, 15 November. 1315 they did. 1,300 farmers faced 2,000 knights and 7,000 infantry. They won. That victory validates everything after. Without Morgarten, maybe the Confederation fragments. Maybe the Habsburgs win in 1318 or 1323. History turns on Morgarten. Where Leopold's vanguard stopped. Where the main ambush descended from. Where most bodies fell. The 2-kilometer stretch makes precision difficult. The Swiss attacked a moving column. Different sections of that column experienced different phases of the battle. The vanguard hit the wall. Got hammered by rocks and logs. Then halberdiers charged. The center section crushed forward into the stopped vanguard. Confusion, panic, horses throwing riders, men trampling each other trying to escape. The rear section probably never engaged. They ran when word came forward. Count Strasburg's separate force heard and retreated. They got hunted through Brunig Pass. The battle was not one fight. It was a cascade of small disasters for the Habsburgs as their huge force became a liability in confined space. Possibly snow. Definitely cold. Lake Egerei at 700 meters elevation, the pass climbs higher, cold enough that men falling in the lake would struggle to get out. Armor becomes death sentence in water. Chronicles say men drowned, but do not specify how many. Lake Egerei is not huge, but at night in armor after a battle, drowning is likely. The legend of the water turning red has no physical basis, but it persists. November 15th at midnight. Blood Red Lake. Swiss remember their victory. Habsburgs remember their humiliation. Memory keeps Morgarten alive. Dutch army composition by 1588, 39% arquebuses, 34% pikes, 13% muskets, 9% halberds, 2% swords. By 1600 halberds limited to sergeants, ceremonial weapon of rank more than combat tool. But at Morgarten in 1315, it was the weapon that changed history. The halberd made Swiss infantry legendary. Swiss infantry made the Confederation viable. The Confederation became Switzerland. Democratic governance by peasant communities, resistance to foreign control, defense of liberty, these become Swiss values. Tell legend adds drama, but Morgarten provides fact. Real people, real battle, real victory against overwhelming odds. When Switzerland establishes federal state in 1848, they look back to Morgarten as proof concept works. Small cantons cooperating defeat large empires. That was true in 1315. That remains true in 1848. That is true today. 26 cantons. 4 languages. Multiple religions. No ethnic unity. But the oath holds. Mutual defense. The Eidgenossenschaft endures. This is not Waterloo or Gettysburg, but Swiss school children learn Morgarten. Military historians study it. The site remains pilgrimage for those who value Swiss history. November 15th. Some years sees small ceremonies, people in historical costumes, speeches about freedom and independence. Modern Swiss army maintains traditions rooted in Morgarten. Citizen soldiers, militia system. Every able-bodied man serves, keeps weapon at home, ready to defend the country. That descends directly from Forest Canton militia that ambushed Leopold in 1315. Critics argue Morgarten mythology oversimplifies. The battle was not just peasants versus nobles. Werner Stauffacher was Landmann of Schwyz, political leader, military commander, not simple farmer. The Swiss had organization, training, scouts, intelligence from the lords of Honenberg. They prepared the battlefield, built obstacles, positioned forces. This was not spontaneous resistance, this was calculated warfare. The chronicles romanticize peasant David beating aristocratic Goliath. Reality was skilled guerrilla tactics using terrain advantage. But that does not diminish the victory. If anything, it makes it more impressive. The Swiss thought strategically, recognized their advantages, exploited them ruthlessly, and then built on that success systematically. The Confederation did not happen by accident. It happened through planning and force. The Habsburg perspective is different. For them, Morgarten is disaster. Leopold's reputation never recovers. The family continues to dominate Austria, expand into Hungary, eventually rule Spain and the Holy Roman Empire, but they never retake the Forest Cantons. The 1318 truce acknowledges reality. The Confederation exists. The Habsburgs can make war on it and lose resources, or they can accept it and move on. They choose acceptance eventually. Other frontiers offer better prospects. The Swiss just want to be left alone. Let them. The cost of forcing them exceeds any benefit. That calculation comes from Morgarten. The battle showed the price of trying to control those valleys, too high. Morgarten, 1315, Crécy, 1346, Agincourt, 1415, Grandson, 1476. A century of battles where infantry defeats cavalry. Each battle has specific causes, specific circumstances, but the pattern is clear. Mounted knights are not invincible. Properly deployed infantry with right weapons wins. This knowledge reshapes armies. France creates companies of pikemen. England emphasizes longbows and dismounted men-at-arms. Italian city-states hire Swiss and German mercenaries. By 1500, the pike square is universal. The medieval knight remains ceremonial figure, but not tactical foundation. Morgarten helped cause that shift. After Morgarten, they consolidate control, expand south into Ticino, north toward Zurich and Bern. Eventually, the Confederation controls both ends of the pass and everything between. That geography becomes Swiss wealth. Trade tolls, banking, a mercenary income supplements this. By 1500s, Switzerland is prosperous. Not a great power, too small, but wealthy and secure. The Gotthard is key. Without controlling that pass, the Confederation is marginal. With it, they are essential. Morgarten secures that control. Leopold wanted the pass. He gambled an army on taking it. He lost. The Swiss keep it. 700 years later, they still have it. Road tunnel, rail tunnel, base tunnel. The route still matters. Well, still makes money, still connects North and South Europe. Morgarten in 1315 decided who profits from that connection. We return to Lake Agary, 2025. The pass is there, the lake is there, the slope of the Figlenfluh is there. The terrain that made the battle possible has not changed much. Modern roads improve access, but the fundamental geography remains. Narrow corridor, steep slope, cold water. In 2015, the 700th anniversary, archaeologists concentrated on the area between Lake Ageri and Sattel. Ground-penetrating radar, metal detectors, careful excavation. They found the 2 knives, the arrows, the scabbard, the spur. 12 silver pfennigs, dated to early 14th century, each artifact placed in museum display, tagged with location coordinates, described in publications. This physical evidence grounds the legend in reality. Men fought here. Men died here. These objects prove it. The Morgarten flag in the Bundesbrief Museum is another piece. Red field, white cross. Not the modern Swiss flag exactly, but close. This banner supposedly flew over Swiss forces at the battle. Provenance is unclear. The flag could be contemporary or could be 15th century reproduction created when Morgarten became patriotic symbol. Either way, it represents the battle in Swiss memory. School groups visit. Look at the flag. Look at the 1315 treaty displayed nearby. Connect the documents to the victory. Understand that Switzerland began here, in this valley, at this battle, when farmers killed knights and changed history. It proved that social class and military technology do not guarantee victory. Terrain matters. Tactics matter. Morale matters. Knowing your ground and using it better than your enemy matters. The Swiss at Morgarten had inferior equipment. Inferior numbers, possibly. Inferior training by knightly standards. But they had terrain mastery. They had surprise. They had weapons suited to confined space. Most importantly, they had commitment. They fought for their homes. The Habsburgs fought for expansion. That difference shows in the outcome. 1,500 Austrian dead. Swiss casualties so light chronicles barely mention them. Leopold escapes. His army does not. The defeat spreads across Europe within days. Peasants beat nobles. The order is not as fixed as everyone thought. Not the halberd design, the idea that the weak can beat the strong if they choose the ground and commit absolutely. Morgarten teaches that. The Swiss internalize it. They build a nation on it. 8 centuries later, Switzerland endures. Direct democracy, armed neutrality, every citizen a soldier. These principles trace to the Forest Cantons in 1291, and the battle that proved their alliance worked in 1315. Morgarten is not just military history, it is the birth certificate of a country. Tourists drive through on the way to ski resorts. Few stop. Few think about what happened here. But on November 15th, 1315, 400 Swiss farmers showed Europe that feudalism could be resisted, that cavalry could be defeated, that peasants with determination and halberds could kill knights and win independence. Duke Leopold brought an army to crush a rebellion. He left with a disaster that haunted Habsburg ambitions for decades. The Swiss consolidated their alliance within a month. Within 40 years, 8 cantons formed. Within 3 centuries, a nation existed. All from 2 hours on a narrow pass when rocks rolled down a mountain and farmers charged with axes on sticks. Blood on snow, bodies in cold water, knights pulled from horses and butchered without mercy. That brutality bought freedom, that violence secured independence. That single battle made Switzerland possible. You picture a medieval battle. Now picture it accurately, not chivalry and honor. Rocks and halberds and drowning men, farmers killing nobles, the weak defeating the strong. That is Morgarten. November 15th, 1315, the day Switzerland began.